Hey, welcome to Rize Radio. Here with your hosts, Bob and Benita Osset and Ernest, our man who's healing, and we'll be happy when he comes back. Bob is on his way. Right now in the building, you got Benita Osset. And we have a very special guest with us today, the professor. And I'm going to let the professor introduce himself, and we're going to kick off a wonderful conversation while we wait on our brother to climb those stairs into the studio. Mr. Professor, how are you today? Why do they call you the professor?
Greetings and good evening. Thank you for the invitation to the radio show. I am called the professor because that was an appointment that I was given in college.
An appointment.
An appointment, yeah. It was agreed to by the student body and the faculty alike.
Okay. So they appointed you the professor?
Yeah, so it's an actual professorship.
Okay.
Yeah.
All this time I thought we just called you that because you're so brilliant.
Nah, that's actually a name people came up for me.
Okay. All right. Do you well, you are here with us today, and we are live on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube, and we are also streaming on iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, and Spotify, as well as Google Play and other places where you can hear podcasts. So there's a lot of space where you can share with the people any and everything that you would like to share with the people. So if you had an opportunity to say something to our people or any people who are listening, what would you want to share with them?
Free yourself from the stress.
What stress are you talking about, my brother? Like the stress of this cord on my computer right now?
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm running with that.
It's all tangled up too. What if I unplug this for a second? Okay, yeah, then you can pull it. And of course, my computer is now saying battery low, battery low, battery low, battery. So free from the stress.
Yeah, get free from the stress.
Stress of what? Like the stress of your boss getting on your nerves, or the stress of your family members bothering you, or the stress of your significant other? I don't know. What stress are you talking about?
Yeah, all of that is verifiable. Any kind of stress that's preventing you from moving forward. If there's any type of stress that's preventing your progress, then you must lessen that. Now, there's such thing as good stress, and there's such things as bad stress. So if you're building a muscle, that's good stress. If you're overcoming a situation that you're having a hard time dealing with through your own faculties, then that may be considered bad or unbeneficial stress. So a lot of times in the society we live in, there are situations that we are faced to deal with. And sometimes we aren't given the manual or the instructions on how to deal with that situation. So that may cause a certain order of undue stress, which is considered bad stress. So what we need to do is learn how to transmute that, which is like it's alchemy. But what we do is we take that bad stress, we turn it into a beneficial stress by seeing the purpose of it in our life. And then we apply the necessary methods and processes in order to alleviate any type of anxiety that might be creating inside of our own systems.
Okay.
So with that being said, I also teach a meditation class, which helps to transmute stress.
When you meditate, are you supposed to completely clear your mind?
Meditation is in different layers. So there are different forms of meditation. The meditation I practice at Blue Lady Wellness is a 3-level meditation. So it's a meditation that the first part does focus on what is known as detaching yourself from anything that may be holding you, anything that you are holding, so that your mind does become free. And then there's another part of it where you basically focus on your breathing, which is another form of kind of freeing your mind, and you just focus on the breath. Then another part of it is where you actually focus on a concept or a purpose or a meaning or something that gives you single pointedness. So what ends up happening is we go through a process where we're receiving information on a daily basis, and our body is trying to figure out a way to digest this information and put it into its proper compartments. When we are interrupted in that process, then certain things may not get done, and it may be just like in the job site, pushed to the next department. But the next department doesn't specialize in doing that. So you're putting a certain job into a certain compartment or a certain department where that isn't processed, but it has to be processed, got to be done. And so it creates more work on one system that is doing more work than it normally does. And so that'll create undue stress. So it's kind of like, if you are let's say you're the manager of the facility and you're doing your managerial duties. But now let's say you're a supervisor who also has duties, doesn't come in to operate at their capacity. Now you may have to take on some of those responsibilities. And so therefore, the work that you had already been assigned to do, it may be affected because of now you have to split up the time that you had designated to do that job plus another.
So you're saying this is what happens in our mind
and in our bodies, exactly.
Okay, so give me an example of how that looks inside our bodies.
Okay, so a headache. All right. A headache can be caused by a number of things. One thing that causes headache is dehydration. Now, dehydration is mostly affects areas of, let's say, your stomach, pancreas, kidneys, bladder, things of that nature. But that's all below your neck. So how would that affect what's going on in your head? So what happens is water in your body is processed through the kidneys to a large degree, along with other organs. And so if enough water isn't processed back up into the cranial area where it keeps the brain submerged in a certain amount of fluid in order for it to stay buoyant, just use that word. What happened is it won't get the proper amount of fluid, and therefore, because there's oxygen in that fluid, the brain won't get the proper amount of oxygen. And so what ended up happening is undue stress will begin to process in the brain because it's trying to figure out where is this amount of fluid that I need. So it's going to send a signal down to the kidneys. What are you doing? Okay, let me send something down to the stomach. The stomach receives water. Okay, let me send something to the pancreas. And then it's trying to figure out where this water at. And so what it'll do is it'll start sending all of these signals out. Say, I need fluid. I need fluid. So your brain is being over.
So the signals is the headache?
That's right. The signal. So what's happening is your brain is trying to because it's a combination of the signals being sent out and having not enough fuel or fluid in order to process these signals. And so dehydration usually leads to headaches. That's what we consider a hangover.
So the parts of your body is working harder than it should have to work.
Right. It's being overloaded.
And this is all kind of stress inducing or stress related. So when you say you meditate, does meditate in addition to just like drinking enough water or hydrating properly, right? So I guess does meditation help with that too as well?
Yeah, meditation is an excellent process because what it does, it allows your body to take time and put it into consumable portions. So in a lot of cases, if we're living a hustle and bustle type of lifestyle and our attention is divided, when your attention is not focused on the thing, then your energy is dispersed. When your energy is dispersed, then your potency is weakened. So it's like the difference between a light bulb and a flashlight. If you take all of those photonic ions and you concentrate them, it'll make a laser beam, which can possibly pierce a solid object. And if you take those photonic ions and you let them radiate, like in a flashlight, now it'll produce radiance, but it won't produce a physical effect on anything other than creating some type of illuminance on it. But as far as its effectiveness as creating influence on that physical thing, it's not going to be as effective. It's only going to be effective to the appearance, but not to the actual thing itself. You know what I'm saying? And saying that, I mean, it's almost like if you look at it as music, and if I take a bunch of instruments and I just quote unquote just bang on these or just play these instruments in any type of sequence that I choose, not in any type of consistent order, then it's going to sound probably like noise. Now, if I organize these different instruments into certain tempos and patterns and uh, vibratory equivalencies, then I can create an orchestra.
Okay, so meditation is organizing your. Does it help to organize your
Yeah,
thoughts?
that's a wonderful way of saying it, right? Yeah,
I was listening.
that's what's up. That's what's up.
Okay, so for those of us who are not like, for instance, I don't practice meditation on a regular, consistent basis. And I don't do it the way I see it done in videos. I don't I
Right,
don't sit with the I don't do that.
right.
What I do is I pause and breathe and I listen. So and I always felt like that was a part of meditation. Would you agree with that though?
Yeah, that's part of meditation. Yeah, it's like people meditate on a daily basis. They're just not aware of it. And
Okay.
so, um, I try to give people an example. So I explain it the best way is if you've ever been to the show before, like the theater, the cinema, and if you've sat there and you've watched a movie for 90 minutes, 2 hours, you sat in one chair and you've looked in one direction for 90 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours. The only difference being is there is an image being projected into your brain more so than you relying on the image that's being projected from your brain. And so that is a state of meditation, except you are accepting instructions as opposed to giving yourself instructions. And so when ends up happening in a situation of people becoming aware of what meditation is and what it does, it's really a matter of finding that point of stillness within your own existence, within your own being, to realize what's happening. So, so what I do is a thing's called it's meditation, but I spell it meditation. And the reason why I use the word medu, medu, is because medu in Kemetic culture, it relates to a voice. So, like in a term that you may be aware of, like Medu Neter, it means voice of the gods. So the Neter or the Neteru is like the gods, and Medu is the voice. But in order to hear this still small voice, you have to be still, and it'll start to become aware. You become aware of it. All right, and so the symbol for Medu in in the Medu Neter is actually like a chick, like a baby chicken, which is very interesting. It represents a very small sound, like a beep, a small, but it has to be recognized because that small sound is giving you a location, it's giving you identity, it's letting you know what's going on. And a lot of times we won't hear that because we're hearing the clucking, and we're hearing the mooing and the barking and the meow and all these other noises. But it's important that we hear that small sound because that represents the next generation of Geb. And Geb represents the goose that laid the egg of the world. And so this very small chick at some point in time will become a chicken which will lay an egg. And that egg represents the womb of the universe. And this is what happens inside of us on a daily basis.
We're listening to the chick inside us.
The chick is there. So hopefully
And
we
I
listen
like
to it.
I like the fact that I like I don't know if I should say I like it because it just is what it is. You said that that's the symbol for it, the chick. But it makes sense to me because, there's plenty of times when somebody will say, well, I was listening to my gut, or like for instance, say something happened and then somebody else will tell the story about this something happening. And then they'll say, something told me not to go.
Hmm.
Like it could have been a fight that went down at the club, or maybe it was like a tornado went past the place, or maybe you hit the road and you were supposed to leave at 5 o'clock, but you didn't leave till 5:15 because you was maybe in an argument with a family member or something. Or maybe it was just like, I don't feel like going. But there was something that paused you.
Mm-hmm.
And so then as you hit the road and you're driving past and you see the car accident, and you said, something told me not to leave. Or you hear something had went down at the club that was kind of bad. And you was like, something told me not to go. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that something is something within your spirit that's communicating with you. At least that's what I feel it is.
Right. Right.
And now hearing you talk about it, that something as little and light as it is, you can't hear it if you're not still because it could be the sound could be as small as a baby chick.
As small as a baby chick.
All right, my brother. I appreciate that. Reasons why we should at least, at the very least, when it comes to meditating, pause and breathe
Hmm.
and listen.
Yeah, it must be done in order to. We have to capture back the control of time. So what happens is in the process of where we are in this physical state, like we fell under the control of time. Like there was a time when we controlled time. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. You may be talking to a friend of yours, and they say, "Hey, I want to go out with you somewhere." You know what I'm saying? It's like, "What you have going on this week?" I don't know. Call me, and I'll make time. How do you do that? How do you make time? And how does that become a natural expression for us? Because everybody, oh, I'd make time to do it. You can make the time to do it. And so this is the reality. We do make time, but we have to understand that we're making the time. The time is it isn't controlling us. It isn't our master. And so because we have the capacity to make time and to create moments in that time, then we have to understand that as the masters of time, through patience, we can create whatever reality is that we focus in our mind on consistently enough to express itself in our experience. So I guess one of the things that prevents that is stress because you won't see it. So there's a lot of times where you may be feeling a certain kind of way. You know, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go to do this, and so you will block off your experience to certain things because of a disconnection to our feelings in certain instances, because I don't feel right. We don't know what it is, but we just don't feel right. But if we knew what it was, we'd probably be more apt to engage in whatever we needed to do because we knew how to address the situation.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick, just a real quick, maybe 2 second break because we gotta fix your mic. Okay, it's a little technical thing. Our people listening, don't go away. We'll be right back on IntellectualRadio.com. She has to do something. Hello and welcome back to Shy Rise Radio here on IntellectualRadio.com. We have another guest that has joined us. His name is Adele.
Yes, last name L.
Adele L. How about that? Thank you so much for joining us. We were just talking about meditation and stress and how to make sure that the stress progresses in a positive way and utilizing meditation to help you get through that. So you're welcome to join in anytime. And our brother Bob is on his way. Okay. But in the meantime, you can join our conversation. And I am Benita Osset. And this is our good brother, the professor. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Why don't you introduce yourself to the people? Who is Adele L?
Well, first of all, I'm a Moorish American.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what that is,
Mhm.
but that's my nationality. I actually grew up with Bob. We were very close. He didn't even know about my nationality, or in fact, I'm 40 years in as a vegetarian. And I'm a teacher of truth. I believe in truth to the fullest. I believe in letting people live in the truth. Going along with you all's subject, I almost died from stress. At one point, I was married, and let's just say I got stressed to the fullest. I blew up to 320 pounds. When I met my wife, I was 210, muscles. Uh, Took on 2 jobs, made a lot of money, but nobody else was helping. And I almost passed away, but the doctor told me to get myself together, and I did. Um, as far as meditation, I'm an epileptic. And when I was in high school with Bob, I would sit in front of the teacher, and they put a test in front of me. I would write my name. Next thing I know, the bell would ring. I didn't know what epilepsy did to you. You know, I had just caught it when in my junior year. I was one of the best football players in the city. So I was stuck. So I went to a brother like the professor here and said, I don't know what's wrong with me. He said, I want you to get up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. In my senior year of high school, in my first semester, I had 5 F's and a D. They said, you ain't graduating. I said, nobody tells me what I'm going to do. So I went to the brother, and the brother said to me, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I want you to meditate. I want you to meditate from about an hour, hour and a half. Then I want you to find your center. And so what I did was I get up at 4, meditate to 5:30, take my shower, and I lived with my mom's mom. And I was on 73rd and Loomis. And I would walk from 73rd and Loomis to Morgan Park High School. That's on 111th and Vincennes every day. And that's the way I found my center.
And for those people who don't know, that's about 50 blocks.
Yes. And then I would, I left Morgan Park with 6 A's and a B. Just with the learning the meditation and taking away the stress and learning my center.
Nobody would believe that this just happened. I don't think. Well, maybe some people would believe it, but we did not plot this out. We did not plan on the two of you all being our guests together. I don't know, maybe Bob's brainchild, but you have a wonderful story to go along with what we were just talking about before you even arrived.
Because all things are aligned. It's like there are no mistakes in the perfect universe unless they perfect mistakes. And then what is a perfect mistake?
It's not a mistake.
You see? So just the whole concept of how we see reality, our perspective, all of that has to change. And see, all of these holy scriptures tell you about that. They talk about when the old heaven and old earth passes away, because it's a new heaven and new earth. And this is true. And this happens all the time. But we don't see it because we constantly reintroduce ourselves to the past in order to relate to the present. And so what happens is we're living in a state where we're moving towards the future, but we're constantly being reminded of the past. So it makes the present look foreign to us at certain points in time. So what we have to do is understand what the present is and what the present presents, because we're in it. You know what I'm saying? We're a part of it. And it's something we're like right now, we're presenting something. And this is the present. That's why everybody's born with a gift. Like I have a saying that everybody's born with tags, talents, abilities, gifts, and skills. Everybody got them. They own you. They own you. And it's up to us to bring them out. So in psychology, they have a term called nature versus nurture. And it's not so much versus, but what happens is nature and nurture. So ultimately in your nature is everything. You could be an astronaut, a baker, a brain surgeon, a computer technician, whatever you want to be. But whatever you nurture out of that, you know what I'm saying? Like the ground could hold anything, potatoes, corn, celery, whatever. But what the seed you put in there is going to dictate what is produced out of it. Same thing with us. It's the seeds that we allow inside of us, or the concepts or the ideas that we take within, that we work on, that we look at it from different perspectives, and we spend our time in order to mature it into a thing as what becomes that part of our character, or what's presented through that angle of our personality at that moment. And this is the reality that we're dealing with. And because we live in a society, especially living in the inner city, you're always being inundated with stuff. You know what I'm saying? Be this, do that, go there. And the whole thing is designed, like you're saying, in high school. Why do they call it high school? How do you go from elementary or grammar school to high school? And what does that mean? So, because I was a human about things, I understand you must have that. I understand high school to be a place where you go and they get you high. Go to that class. Now go to that class. Now go to that class. Now go all the way down to that class. Go back to that class. Oh, what you want to do again? Never mind. Don't worry about it. Take that test. Take that test. Go take that test. Then you graduate. And then they say, all right, bye. Go get a job. Now, wait a minute. Nobody sat me down and talked to me about what I want to do. Nobody helped me to nurture what it is that was inside of me to present to the world. But what they did was they put a lot of information in my head, didn't tell me what it was in there for, and said, all right, I'm going out there and get a job. And job, you join the story of Job. If you ever read the book of Job, they're like, hey, it's going to take your time. It's going to take you away from your friends. It's going to take you away from your family. And all this is going on. But you have to maintain a sense of self while you're going through this process. And a lot of times people get jobs and lose themselves. Because if you go around and you take just find the people you grew up with and ask them, like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And just find 10 people and find out how many people are actually doing what they want to do when they were young.
Dale, you doing what you would want to do?
Yes.
What you
But
do?
at the same time, you walked 50 miles to school.
Well,
So he had a lot of time to think about it.
well, my father, when I was growing up, he was the head of security for I don't know if you remember a store called Community.
Yeah.
It was like Ventures and Zares, and he was the head of security for them. But he also worked for a company called GTE, and that was computers. So when I was younger, 4 years old, you asked me what I wanted to be. I said I wanted to work on computers, and I wanted to be a police officer. I've done both. Right now, I'm the IT manager, IS manager for Mount Sinai Hospital, Holy Cross Hospital, and 20 clinics. I used to work for the University of Chicago in the police department, in the IT department, as well as the police department. So I did both. It's about, for me, it's projection. As a more, our culture, see, you say you live in the present. No other culture lives in the present. But as a people, we constantly say we want to live in the present. That's why our children are so bad, because they live in a lifetime where, perfect example, Dwayne Wade. I know you know the situation going on with Dwayne Wade right now. I think the brother's a nice brother, but if Dwayne Wade is allowed to give his son a sex change at the age of 12, they better let R. Kelly out of jail. Because that's saying that a child has the right to say what he or she can do at the age of 12. That's the present. See, if we lived in the past like we're supposed to, we would have raised our daughters to be daughters and our young men to be men, and not saying that they can choose which. I'm not talking about sexuality. I'm talking about they don't know nothing about sexuality at the age. We taught them back in the day who they were. Like when I look in the mirror, my father passed 2 years ago. And I tell you right now to this day, I never wanted to be like my dad, except for what he did at work. Because my dad was cool. I'm goofy. I grew up goofy, laughing, joking, cracking, class clown, all that. But when I see myself talk to my sons, I find myself repeating my dad's words because of the culture he taught me. That's why we must live in the past. See, the present is nothing but, I call it an illusion. So you when you see a perfect example, the spirit is of the past. The spirit of today is a what do you call it? A destructive type spirit. The spirit of the past is I'm marrying you for 40 years. I'm gonna teach my son to love his wife for 40 years. But see, the present, I'm gonna teach my daughter to put on eyelashes that look like rakes, and my son not to get a job. My son is gonna be the woman today, and my daughter's gonna be the man. That's the present, and I can never teach my children that. I have to teach them a culture, the cultures of the past. That's the only thing I had to say about your
That's
statement
interesting.
about
I
that.
mean, that's interesting.
You know, my mother, she taught us we were supposed. I don't think it was any particular culture. It's just maybe her being a social scientist. You know, she's a social worker, or maybe it was something she learned. But for whatever reason, she decided that she was going to teach us past, present, and future at all times.
Right.
So it was a constant.
Right.
So, like for instance, say, "Mom, can I get my ears pierced?" No. She would go back to the past and she would remember all of those girls who got their ears pierced and then they ended up with keloids or other
Right.
things that messed up their ears. And then she would look at us in the present and she would see how we looked and she didn't want us to look, you know, she didn't want us to have to go through that. And then she would think into the future. She said, when I meet my maker, you know, I don't want him to say, hey, you know, why did you do that to them girls? You knew better type of thing. But and that would be her speech. So then she would say, well, when you get grown and gone, if you decide to get your ears pierced, you know, that's up to you. But she would make that statement for everything. Like I gave you a kind of a petty example with the ears pierced, but she would do that for everything, anything we ever asked her.
That's culture.
That's culture.
That's culture.
That was
See,
her
to
thing.
me, I think
Past,
it comes
present,
down
future.
to where you get the past from. See, like for
In her
instance, like
head, or things that she observed, or
so that's based on on
her
experiences,
experiences. Yeah.
right? And so I think in a lot of situations we are we're separated by experiences. So like so you may see the present as being a situation where the men, the young boys are being affected like this, young girls being affected like that, and these things are going on, and that's basically from where we're at. Now we go to different climates of society, it's completely different. You know, it can be completely different. You know, we're looking at things based on what we are exposing ourselves to and what's being exploited around us. So if we like people to say things to the nature where um, quote unquote, uh, black people haven't made any strides because they still live in these type of conditions. They still not getting paid what they worth. They still not being acknowledged for certain type of positions in the job market or whatever it is. All right, that's a perspective based on a certain amount of people. Now, a lot of people are not aware of the fact that in Africa there are major metropolis structured cities. Look like Detroit, Chicago, LA, this, that, and the third. Because they don't show you that on TV. A lot of people to this day still think that people live in jungles in Africa, people living in huts in Africa. And I'm not saying that all Africa is Wakanda, but I'm saying that there are areas in Africa that have been there for generations that are huge. That I mean that look like major cities that we have never been exposed to, even to the degree that they are ancient structures. When you talk about the past, they are ancient structures that represents modern cities that they don't even talk about. Even to the degree where you have people they'll say, well, there's a Chinatown and there's a Jewtown. We need a African village. So I'm trying to figure out how you go from a town to a village. Because in the mindset, they've trained people to think that there's only villages in Africa. They don't connect Africa with a city. When in reality, most of your villages you will find in Europe. Most of your villages you would find in Europe, not a city. You would find a village, and then the village would grow to a town. Then the town would be developed into a city. In Africa, you find most cities with surrounding towns. And see, they don't want to recognize that because once you acknowledge the fact that these people are the descendants and the relatives of the people who built these major world cities, then they're going to act completely different than how they've been trained to act.
Right.
And so I think that, like, to a large degree, time is in our hands, past, present, and future. I'm leery of when we use the term past because I don't know who's constructing this past. And once you get into certain angles of studying this, you find out that a large degree of the history that we study now was just put together in 1893 at the World's Columbian Exposition right here at the museum. A large degree of this information. That's why so much of it doesn't sync up anymore. And that's why most Europeans knew that all Egyptians were black. Just recently did they start teaching that these Egyptians are supposedly white and all this other stuff, and Egypt's not a part of Africa and all this crazy. This is a new thing. This isn't old. They already knew that. But once they decide they're going to restructure the thinking of the people in a certain landmass, they call the United States or whatever this we want to call this dynamic. Then they started changing information. And they said, okay, now we're going to start passing it out and see who all is going to accept it. Is Egyptians Africans, or are they Middle Easterners? Let's start with that one. Then we're going to see where you go. Now, I know a sister who was in Egypt. She said in Egypt, the Arabs will say it's the Middle East and not Africa. She said you can show them on a map inside the same store, like, that's Africa, that's Egypt right there. And they will argue and say, no, that's the Middle East.
Well, that's because I didn't go to Egypt because of the fact that they were killing brothers, and they don't like brothers who come with intelligence. I actually found Israel, and it's not in where everybody believes it to be. Israel is in Ethiopia.
Yeah, I can see that.
When in the Bible, it speaks about Jesus going to the first temple ever created. The first temple ever created is in Ethiopia. The second temple ever created, and they're both surrounded by city. And one is above ground, which is the first temple, and one is below ground. The Europeans are stopping the Ethiopians from keeping these temples above ground. And when they perish away, the Europeans are trying to stop them from keeping these well kept. Most people don't know this.
Mm-hmm.
And when the so-called Jewish people went looking for Israel, they were going to put it at the tip of, on the bottom of Sudan, going into Ethiopia. But then they would have had to admit who were the true Jews or Hebrews.
Mm-hmm. Right. The originals, right.
Yeah, but going back to what you said, I'm actually working on a book right now dealing with something similar to like how your mom raised you, but it's dealing with the ancestry. It's called Fear, the African American PTSD. It's basically about how people are taught to fear, and this fear constantly goes from generation to generation. And now they're forgetting this fear. That's why a lot of our kids are dying, and they've lost their respect. See, we used to have, I put it to people this way. When it comes to PTSD, when guys go overseas and they fight in a war and they got this friend next to them, yeah, you my guy, and you get blown up. And I keep seeing that in my head. Now, I tell you, you keep that vision in your head, but I'm going to put a better one in your head. Imagine you're a mother and you see a son getting pulling down the street, and they pull right in front of your house and slice your son up, limb by limb, hang him up, cut off his personal, and then take pictures and make postcards. What would you remember? Your friend getting blown up, or your cousin, your brother getting carved up in front of your house?
Yeah.
So that's been our biggest issue. That's why a lot of us have that. Some of us don't like to hear about slavery in the past, and others of us don't. We just want to understand why that happened. And I just tell brothers and sisters, you got to pay attention to why your mother really said that. It wasn't really about the ear keloid. She was trying to make, hey, baby, I'm protecting you. And that's what the past does. The future, or the present, it's not about past. It's still that destruction. Like nowadays, we don't tell our daughters that. We don't tell her, hey, don't get your ear pierced. Our daughters come home with 12 earrings. Oh, hey, baby, that young man doesn't have a job. Oh, mama, I'll take care of him. Yeah. See, that's not the past. See, when you open up a door for a young lady nowadays, they go, oh my God. And for me, that's natural. Because my dad taught me, open up a door. My 24-year-old nephew, I got a 24, 22, 20, and a 14-year-old nephew. You know what they all told me? They said, I can't find a black woman to save my life. He said, Uncle, you taught me what a woman is. And I can't find one out in the street for nothing. I go to these places, I can't find them. And it's because I'm looking for the values of a woman. And my third nephew, he has a little European girl. Second nephew, he's dating a Filipino. My oldest nephew, who was like, I guess you call him like my son because he was with me all the time. He said, well, I'll date a Haitian because he wanted a sister. Mm-hmm. But this is what he had to go through to find something, to see what's, the fruit that we're putting out there is not the same.
Well, it can't be the same. It has to change because the environment has changed. This is like
but I'm actually, what other culture has done that?
What do you mean has done?
See, that's what I'm saying. Everybody keeps talking about we got to change.
Mm-hmm. Change is natural. It's inevitable.
But tell me another culture that has done that.
That has done what?
That has done a change.
As far
as women in their lifetime, in your lifetime, name me another culture whose women have changed.
When you say, okay, so when you say change, like what do you mean? And what way do you mean? Like change how they look? Change
no.
How they act, change how they treat each other,
how they act, how they treat themselves, how they treat their men, how their men treat them. What other culture has ever changed?
I mean, you'd have to say every culture. You have to say every culture.
Go to a Latino house right now.
Mm-hmm.
Meet a 17-year-old Latino young lady. Go in their house, and she'll make dinner.
Depending on where you go.
Most of the time, she'll know how to make dinner. Culturally, they're taught a certain thing, just like they're taught when it'll be 15 Latinos in one house. They're taught to love family.
Okay.
You go to a European house, they may not be taught to love family, but they have a family structure that remains the same. Like a football player, say a European football player, he won't give his mom and dad no money. That ain't what they do. He's like, give my mom and dad because they've been taught to save money throughout their life. So giving their mom and dad money is a different concept than it is for us.
Okay.
But see, it never changes. That's the way they are. See, we the only ones who think in our head, we gotta change. See, that destroys our culture. So we have no culture.
It doesn't destroy it.
Do the so-called African American people have a culture?
All right.
That's all I can ask.
You want the long or the short on this?
You can say yes or no.
All right. So the first thing to address that is the whole African American part. Now, that becomes a whole nother dynamic. Somebody else came up with that.
Well, you know.
So now, exactly. So that's where I'm going. Okay. That's where I'm going. So now let's get into the melanated. Let's get into the Moors. All right. Let's get into the individuals who have their own identity.
Yes.
All right. So now when you start talking about cultures on a global level, where'd all that culture come from? Moors. Okay. So therefore, for Moors to take culture into China and then take it into India and then take it into Japan, you mean it didn't change? It changed. It had to change. It had to change with the environment. It had to change with the people. It had to change with the dialect. It had to change with the time of year that they were communicating with these people. It had to change with the nutrition. It had to. See, we create culture. We are cultural generators. Like you create a culture. She creates culture. That is what we do. We are the culture of America and the United States. Both. the world. And so what ends up happening is these people graft onto what we do. See, the whole reason why Latinos do what they do because they seen the Moors, because the Moors brought it to them, and they were just like, "Oh, okay, that's how that works."
And they didn't know how to switch it up or change it.
Because it works.
And so now the reason why I'm so
But the
I
whole
love this
it comes
conversation.
down to the fact that when you have a person who produces a thing, it's going to change. He's not going to produce the same thing over and over again because that would make him a robot. Like a singer, he's not going to sing that same note every. You may love it. Minnie Riperton may sing that "Loving You" note, but you see her in concert, she gonna throw a little something in there. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Because she has evolved. She's like, I'm gonna hit it at this point now. When it goes dun dun dun, then I'm gonna take it up.
And that's a really good point because you're saying we're the only people who change, and you're saying the reason we're the only people who change because we produce.
Because we produce it, right? We produce the nature, variety is the nature of life. They're not gonna produce the same flower.
Will you
over.
accept
Even
that,
snowflakes?
L?
Snowflakes change. Every snowflake is different. Every fingerprint is different.
I
And
can
it's
only
got
say,
Hold on. Will you accept that, Adele L?
I'm gonna say no.
Oh, come on.
The reason I can't say that is because of the simple fact that what I'm saying is right now there is no culture in the so-called African American people because they're not Moors.
Wait a
They're
minute.
not
Hold on.
Hebrew.
We're gonna have to
Wait a minute.
Our brother has just showed up. Let's take a real quick break so we can get Bob in the answer.
Yeah.
Tune into this song. Tune into this conversation. I love to spin off of this. This is really.
Oh, I'm
nice.
sorry. We're supposed to be talking about communication.
Hey, welcome back to Rise Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. We got our fellow co-host in the building with us just now.
Yeah.
His name is Bob. How you doing?
What's going on? How you doing?
I missed you.
I missed you too, homegirl. What's going on with
He
you?
came just in time. His brainchild has been working it out, and we have been learning and growing. So just now, the little piece that you missed, I know you was listening in the car, but I'm going to reiterate it for you, okay? The piece that you missed was Mr. Moore. Adele.
He didn't wear his hat today. You know what I'm saying?
He was breaking it down for us. He said that our culture is the only culture that has not changed. Or that has changed. Our culture is the only culture that has changed. He said everybody else's culture is staying the same. And then he really had me feeling like, oh, that's kind of messed up that, our culture is the only one changing. So then my brother professor comes in, right? And then he say, well, of course, ours is the only one that has changed because we're the producers. We're the only ones who can change.
Wow.
You see that?
Yeah.
He's like, if you're the one who creates it, if you're the one who makes it, like Minnie Riperton, she could sing that note the same way, but the only person who could, like, if they was gonna, he said the only reason why we are changing is because we ain't robots. We're the creators. He said the Moors went in and taught the Asians, taught the English, taught everybody else. So that's the reason, the Latinos, so that's the reason why they keep doing it that way. But we are reinventing ourselves with our culture. So anyway, that's what we left off. What you got to say about that, Bob?
What do I got to say about
that? Or do you have any questions? Or you want to move on next?
Professor get in there first.
Okay.
Let me warm up.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
When I say that, I want you to understand that it's not about. I'm trying to be derogatory towards our people.
Oh no, I don't think you are.
But I have to be honest about why our people are disappearing. See, our people are disappearing at an enormous rate, and no one cares. When I say disappearing, our culture, our people, we were once, Africa, Brazil, and all these other places. We're all over the earth, and our people are being killed off at an enormous rate. But nobody cares because culturally, we don't care. We stop caring about ourselves. We are the only race that hates themselves. When I look at you, I see the beginning of my spectrum. When I look at a sister who's blue black chocolate, I see the other side of it, and both gorgeous from the top to the bottom. But most people, when they see dark and light, oh, she dark, I can't stand her. He light, I can't stand him. These type of things are the destruction of what you might call a culture. That's why I said we sit there and our children have become opposite of who they are. And that is the problem. There's no culture in a man telling me that his 5-year-old knows that he's a girl. Or his
right.
Or going back to Dwayne Wade, like I said earlier, I hear all these women yelling and screaming about R. Kelly. He slept with a 15-year-old girl. Well, don't get mad because you happy about Dwayne letting a 12-year-old boy cut off his personal.
Sex change, right?
Exactly.
Talking about, they're old enough to understand, be aware that he did
exactly. If you're aware at 12, this girl ain't aware at 15 what she's doing with R. Kelly.
Hold up. Did Dwayne say it's okay for him to sex change
yes.
today?
Yes.
Like he's not gonna, you know that there's a pill that's embarrassing. But do you know that there's a pill that they can take to put it on pause?
Hey,
Did you know that?
To put what on pause?
That's what I said. What's on pause?
Your puberty. So, like for instance, if
your
you
puberty, but not your sex.
Well, hold on.
No, so you
put your puberty on pause.
Put your puberty on pause.
See,
so, for instance, you know how you start growing Adam's apple, how you start talking like you get your voice starts getting deeper, how you start growing facial hair and hair in other places. All those things that happen in puberty, there's a pill you could take that would pause that.
So this is based on the same technology used for birth control pills?
I don't know where it stems from or where it comes from. I just know that there's a pause pill. I can't even remember the name of it. I'm calling it the pause pill today for these purposes.
You need to get that to some adults.
So but then what happens is, and the reason for the pause pill is so that a person can determine whether or not, like for instance, right now at 12, do you really know at 12 what you want? Do you really know? And so then the purpose of the pause pill is so that maybe by 19 you figured it out. Then about 19 you can just then you can go back to you can stop taking the pills, and then puberty will normally do what it's supposed to do, and you can still be a man if that's what you want. But if you decided that you wanted to be a woman, if you took the pause pill, you would just continue to keep taking that, or you would take a different pill. Now you would take, say, hormone pills, and then you would get your operations and stuff, and then that would cause the procedures to be less invasive.
The pause pill sound like solitary confinement. So wait a minute. So you said
I need to look it up
I'm
while
gonna
we
take
talking.
this person.
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna take this person and I'm gonna retard their development by putting something in them.
Exactly.
So my body is naturally like, hey, I don't do this. No, you come back here and you stand in this room for 4 years.
Yes.
Till you figure out what you want to do.
Yes.
No, that
It's
See,
for it's
that's
a pills
I-
typically for transgender.
That goes again. R. Kelly should be let out of jail.
right.
I'm just saying, think about it. I mean, that's basically what they said. They said everybody has the right at the age of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old to decide what they're going to do with their body.
And see, my thing is, I probably would leave them for my own job. But if
What
if-
did you say?
So, yeah.
You got the whispering over there tight.
What?
Because I'm not speaking that into existence.
Right.
I can understand if you're, it doesn't make sense to change the gender of a 12-year-old. It just doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense. Like I can't imagine, because at 12 you have so much growing to do. How do you even know what you really want
That's
to do?
your last year
So
before you
that's why-
become a teenager.
So if they had to, I appreciate the pause pill. That's all I'm saying.
You appreciate it. Oh, okay. I thought you were
So
just stating the fact
I
that
was
it's
just
a
saying,
pause pill.
So that they have
Now
a
you say
choice.
you appreciate it
No,
so they
no.
can have choices.
Well, no,
So let's just lock them up. Let's lock up their bodily
because I'm
functions.
hopeful. I'm very hopeful that while they're in the midst of the pause pill, they will be like, wait a second, I like being a man, or wait a second, I like being a woman, and they can just continue on. You know,
But
I'm
12 to
hopeful for
18,
that.
that's high school. So they're saying instead of you being a high school student, we're gonna go ahead and put you in that class with just you, and you figure it out, and we're gonna let you out by the time your brother graduates. Now you out, he's telling you about, yeah, man, I went on prom, I did this. I didn't do none of that.
I want
I just sat in that room.
This
Look,
is the
I want
concept.
everybody listening to please strike for the record what Benita Whitfield has just said. Because I do not want to be in this to be held against
You
me
like
later on.
pushing pause pills on shot ride. So now here's my thing though. We talk about culture, right? Culture is funny with first of all, I'm gonna be specific with black. You said black people are the only ones that has changed.
No. Oh, yeah.
That has changed.
Yeah.
I missed why you said that. Why did you say black people are the only culture that has changed?
Oh, well, if you look at our society, we've stopped loving each other. We've stopped taking care of each other. We've stopped making life for our people the same. If you look at every other culture, see, when you walk outside, everybody is saying, oh, things are supposed to change.
Mm-hmm.
But truth be told, no other culture has. So if no other culture has, why are we?
I don't.
Because I'm putting it this way: when me and you went to school,
Right.
we had fights. Remember that?
I know, man.
We used to box.
Okay.
Do our kids box now?
Yeah. Well, not like that.
No,
No.
they don't.
No.
They go get a gun,
Right?
Because they have no self-value.
Well, now hold on. Now I grew up in that era, that boxing and all that. Now you remember when dudes started getting shot, like for gang-related issues? You in your 40s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember by the
when
time they
shit-
started getting shot? You know what's happening before they was getting shot? Dudes was getting beat to death. Beat to death. Now let's think about this. Now I'm gonna give you a choice. Now, my man Junebug got the gun. He's 50 dudes over here. You make a choice how you want to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, though, gunplay has always been.
Yeah, it's always been
It's been there, but
it's in every culture.
But it's different though.
it reminded me when I moved to Flint, Michigan when I was young, right? It was like in Flint, Michigan, it was like we had a reputation. Chicago always had a reputation of being dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I moved to Flint, Michigan, there was a reality check for me in the sense that it might be 10 guys hanging together, and 8 out of 10, or maybe all 10 of them got pistols. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But in Chicago, it might in like we're in our 40s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might be 10 people that hang together, but only 1 or 2 of them might have a pistol. Right. So that was a shift in my mindset that let me know that that's the difference between what y'all saying back then and now. It's like more per person, more people got straps.
Right.
That's a big difference. That's what we see played out now. You know, everybody their own legend, so to speak. But we used to, back in the day, it was like we used to survive off of one of the reputation or respect the reputation of 1 or 2 dudes.
Right.
I remember I always got to tell the story when I see Adele, like, right? Adele is one of the it was one of the individuals that gave me courage as a man. Now Adele wasn't no, you know what I'm saying? Adele was always smart, right? Mm-hmm. But this dude named Harrison Hayes, we was scared of this dude. All right, this dude was a woofer. He was a woofer, a good woofer, you know? Okay. And Adele fought him. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna, you know what I'm saying? He fought him. I ain't gonna say this wasn't Adele's best day. This wasn't his best day. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't his best day. But me witnessing that, it made me not scared of people.
Yeah.
It made me not scared of people. And I mean that not because he's sitting here, that's real. That really happened. I'm like, man, if Adele ain't scared, I ain't scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really was contagious for me like that.
And that's what it is, yeah. And so that is what I see as culture. That's culture.
You see, again, that's
the David and Goliath thing. You know what I'm saying? That's culture because it's all based on the fact that you made a decision in your mind, regardless of whatever this dude was talking about, it stops here.
But you got to understand, I come from a culture.
We all come from a culture.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we actually do.
I'm gonna ask you a question. When was the first time you heard about what's the Tulsa situation? What's it called?
Talking about Dreamland?
No, talking about Ida B. Wells?
No.
Black Wall Street?
Black Wall Street.
Yeah. Black Wall Street.
When was the first time you heard about Black Wall Street?
So me personally, I was relatively young because I grew up in one of those historical type houses. So it was like I probably heard about it maybe, I don't know, when I was probably about like still in grammar school.
I had to read it at 5.
Okay.
Reason I had to read it at 5, it changed my entire life. Because when I read it, I don't know if you remember this, but when we used to play basketball, I used to have dress shoes on all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you used to wear dress shoes everywhere.
Because in Tulsa, the men dressed like men. You had to have a suit on. You had to walk like a man.
We're going to have to take this call real quick. I'm sorry. Jose, go ahead, Jose. What's up, Jose? Wait a Jose minute.
Yeah, what's up? How y'all doing?
Oh, what's up, guy? What's going on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, check this language I'm about to use. I remember we talked about language last week, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Professor.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Everything is lovely about yourself, brother.
All right. Brother Dale, Islam, God, Islam. How you doing?
Islamism.
Yes, sir. I got a few statements I want to make, and I got one question for the both of you since they're there. But either what you was trying to say is they're called hormone blockers. They're giving children hormone blockers to prevent them going to the next stage of their puberty. So they're called hormone blockers.
That's my pause pill.
Hormone blocker.
Yeah, hormone blockers. That's what they're called. So that term you use, proper name they're using it, it's called hormone blockers. And the three of them, before you get there, Rob, which y'all, to me, the one word that covered the past, I mean, what the professor started with the present, then there went to the past, and then either went to the future. The one word that covered that is Sankofa. And Sankofa teach you either in order to go forward, you must go back, or in order to go, you must go back to go forward. One of those two phrases, but that's Sankofa. And the third thing that y'all talking about, I think is a variation word y'all saying culture, to me, is tradition. And when the brother Dale was using the example that the Latino family or Mexican family, or however you word it, we talk about we lost our tradition. And when I want to throw in there, sooner or later we're gonna have to have a conversation. Sooner or later, and I'm leaning hard towards sooner. we're going to have to talk about the fathers being pulled out the house in the late 1960s, early 1970s, because the fathers represent structure. When the structure left of the house, I am saying the black family transitioned that day. We're just not saying it now. Because when the structure walked out, everything walked out with it. We just didn't understand. Because these movements that was going on when the civil rights was going on, they created another agenda, which was the feminist movement to draw black women to that, to put them in position that they don't need the structure in the house or that masculinity in the house to raise for the family to be right. So when the brother was talking about women wearing eyelashes and all this other stuff, boys being girls, girls being boys, that's because the structure is gone. And we have to have that conversation.
You're
the
right.
question I got for both of them. Oh, go ahead. I just want to say something.
No, I was gonna say you're right on point. I actually wrote a book, Women from Teachers to Traders, Men the Structure, the Devil. Right on point.
Sir. Yes, sir. So that's what I'm saying. We got to deal with those things. So the question I want to ask both of them, since they both represent moral, what is the difference? It's either what is the difference? What is the difference? This is what I'm asking. Because I subscribe to more Kemetic philosophy. So what is the difference between Moors and Africans? Yeah, it's because the young brother come on there. He said that he's a Moorish nationality. So I'm asking, what is the difference, if there's a difference between Moors and Africans?
All right, who you want to answer this first?
You go first.
Hey, both of y'all. Actually, I want both of y'all to answer. But whichever one of y'all can go first. I can be biased because me and the professor, we cool like that.
Right.
We got a new guest on the show. Let the guest go ahead and knock it out.
Right, that's I was gonna let her go first because you don't mind. Avalanche.
Neither one of them.
But I could definitely say, as far as difference between Moors and Africans, is that in general speaking, when you say Moor, you're dealing more of a global presence. When you say African, you're dealing more of a continental presence on a certain continent and part of the world.
Okay.
I think you should answer now. Wait for the deal.
Okay, I'm gonna take it a little bit further as a teacher of Moorish science. There is no difference. We believe that there were the brothers who were Hebrew and there were brothers who were Moors, but they are brothers. The continent of Africa, be whatever name you call us, we are Moors. We are Amaru. If you look in the Bible, it's Amorites or Moabites. We are of the same culture. We are of the same blood. A lot of people try to separate us and make us different. But if I go to Australia in the Aborigine, those are Moors. If I go to Puerto Rico, in the hills of Puerto Rico, those are Moors. If I go to Brazil, those are Moors. Us brothers here on this continent, we are all Moors. It's just that the knowledge base or understanding who you are makes you change, or the philosophy or the thought of being a Moor. See, I was born as a Moorish American. My father was born as a Moorish American. My grandmother was born as a Moorish American, and her mother was a Moorish American. So I come from that culture, that lineage. So we don't believe that there is a separation of that. Like, brother, you call yourself Kemetic, right?
Correct.
See, I don't call you Kemetic. I call you Ethiopian, because Kemet, everybody says, is the first great nation, and it was not. The first great nation on this earth was Ethiopia. Kemet was a part of Ethiopia. And that's something that a lot of people want to separate. They keep constantly separating us from one land to the next. If you understand that being a part of Ethiopia, which is a part of the Moorish nation, which is also a part of the Kemetic nation, because you run into a lot of Kemetic Moors, which I know, you understand that there's only one people. It's only the knowledge that separates us. And the Moors are considered to be the people of knowledge because we went through the earth and gave the entire world our knowledge.
Now here's a question for y'all. Now here's a question for all of y'all. How do we establish culture? What do we expect with the knowledge that y'all sharing right now? Okay, this knowledge y'all sharing.
Mm-hmm.
How do we establish what our culture should be today with that? How do we establish that? Because we got so many different people who believe so many different things. Just by nature of the way we were created in the United States of America, right? And how do we tap into that in order to create a culture going forward that could be significantly unified, or get some work done? Or
two things. Culture is defined by what we cultivate and what we culminate, as opposed to, like the brother said, tradition, which is close, but it's different. So a culture could be a thing like, let's say, for instance, there can probably be no tradition in music, even though we have a thing called traditional music, but it'll be a tradition of jazz, tradition of this, you know what I'm saying? But it's not a thing, it's called traditional music. You know what I'm saying? So music being a culture within itself. Let's say we want to cultivate Benita plays the drums, you know what I'm saying? So she says, well, I'm a start a drumming circle. And then his brother says, okay, well, that's cool. You know what? Because I know some sisters that like to dance. You know what I'm saying? And he bring the dances, and you say, man, that's what's up. Because you know what? I know a brother, he makes these outfits, you know what I'm saying? And that'll make the dancers look real good. You know what I'm saying? To get out here. So now we start to create this now we're culminating something. Because at this point in time, we're taking just music as a culture. And we're starting to take that, we're cultivating that into a movement. Now here it is, you got the sister drumming, you got the brother with the sister dance, and you got the brother make the outfits, you know what I'm saying? I might know you to make food or whatever it is. Now we have beginning of a
So you
festival.
got sound, and then you have look, and then you have wear, and then you have movement.
Right.
You mixed it all together.
Because it's all a part of, see, because we don't do things like, there's no such thing as like just the cooking. Like we don't just cook. There's gonna be music there. It's gonna be games there. It's gonna be, it's gonna be all type of different activities going on. No matter what, and that's how we are as people.
Like for instance, with Domino's, if you look at if you buy a package of Domino's and you read the rules on Domino's, it doesn't say that you're supposed to be like, Domino MNF. You're not supposed to say that. That's just all part of the culture, right?
Yeah, you say, I don't know no MF for you. You gotta say the word. You gotta actually say the word. You can't just be like MF.
Or it also doesn't say that, like when you mixing up the dominoes, that you be like, yeah, get your kids out the street,
Right.
or like how we say, yeah, wash them dishes,
Right.
or how if you domino, I'm supposed to lean back and let you touch the dominoes before anybody else can touch the dominoes. The rules don't say that, but if you break any of those rules with us playing dominoes, it's gonna be a problem.
That's money. It's
Right.
like, I can't ride now.
So we create our own.
We create that, and so it's a part of our culture is when the characters shine beyond the personality. So character is who you are when nobody else is around. Personality is what you project to other people. But every now and then, your character will just come out. You know what I'm saying? So like this, when you fought what's the dude name? The Wolf.
Oh yeah.
Now, if that wasn't announced before you did it, that was your character coming out. You know what I'm saying? If I'm about to fight this dude. He's like, move, get out the way. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what this is. That's what's known as the David and Goliath complex. See, David had a certain character about him that made him look at that and he was like, oh, y'all scared of this dude? I'll fight him. Now imagine this. And this is what I say is like, I had a thing called if you knew the end of the story. You know what I'm saying? If you knew the end of the story. So in this dynamic, you looking at these two individuals, they about to go at it. Here's a dude like 17 years old. Here's a giant with a sword and a shield, and he got an army of 100,000 dudes. Who you gonna bet on? Right. Who you gonna bet on? You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Now you just see, you don't know nothing about the story, but you just see this. A shepherd. Now you know this dude hanging out with them sheep all day. Like that's shorty with the sheep.
Yeah.
And he about to fight. That dude, he done killed like 100 people already. But in your mind, it's all right, I'm taking bets. Who you gonna bet on? Who you gonna bet on?
Yeah, not shorty with the sheep.
No. Nobody bet on shorty sheep except Professor. Because Professor go for the underdog. And I'm like, this is way too unbalanced. Like, at least get some money for his family. Like, yeah, I'm telling shorty. Like, if you don't
I'm trying to figure out like how do go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question. In order to create or cultivate, like the brother was saying, culture, I live by 5 principles. Love, number one, which it should be the number one root in every family. Truth, and this is something me and you have talked about in the last couple of days. That is something that was easy for. It's the reason you're with your wife. Peace, something that you get when you with your family. These are all things that cultivate. This is what when I was literally as a little boy, I had to walk through the door. My grandmother, she was like, what is it? I'd be like, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. She said, you better know it.
Right.
And I did that every day. She didn't allow many people, like all the friends I had, none of them could come over. Only one came over. Actually, two. Lavelle and LaRon. She was kind of sympathetic on LaRon. But Lavelle actually got into the more science. So he understood the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, his mom and dad was Christian ministers. That didn't matter to any of the Moors because it's about love. My grandmother had 11 kids. Both my grandmothers had 11 kids. But my father's mother, who's a Moor, brought in my mom's family. So that's 22 kids. Plus, she had like a whole neighborhood coming upstairs eating because I got so many uncles and aunties that are not my uncles and aunties because of the love that was generated that she was trying to cultivate into these kids to show them a way, a path. You see, and also the next thing that you have to go after you get through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, you got to teach people about self.
Well, here's my thing though. Here's my thing. I'm trying to figure out. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, because I want to give. I want to chime into your question. Cause I think I got an idea. I'm sure I got an idea where you're coming from. Because when we talk about culture, I think we need to get a definition of it. First, I want to add a possible question to Brother Dale.
Okay.
I believe there might be some misuses of language. I haven't heard anyone teach that Kemet was the first civilization. That's why crazy. Why I consider my committed teacher teaches that Kemet is the child of Nubian, which is present-day Sudan. Sudan is the child of Ethiopia because civilization come out of the south. So we understand civilization come out of the south. Ethiopia will be ground zero, sort of to say, and it will create a way of life, what we call culture today.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce her name real good, but this young lady, she teaches African culture, African history, Arima Ani. She defined culture as, hold on, because I got to pull it up.
Marimba.
Grounding of the people's collective existence. That's what she defined that. So Ethiopia would have a way of life, and then there's always throughout human history, there's always going to be migration. That's just what it is. We're going to move from one location to another. Some will stay. So in order for nations to come about, create Sudan, which is Nubia, which is present-day Sudan, they would take what they learned as a culture from Ethiopia, expand on it. And when it goes further north, because you're going north, when you go north, you're going up, so you have to take the culture up while you're going up north. So when you get to Kemet, present-day Egypt, now you're getting into pyramid buildings, temple buildings, because you're taking that culture to a high society, high level of knowledge or a high level of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So once we find what culture is, we can do it because I think we mix in rap, creating rap, dancing. I'm trying to think of some other stuff that would be considered low level. Those things people are usurping to generate resources. See, they take our rap, they start rapping themselves, so they generating the ultimate resource for themselves. We're living a real life trading places. When Eddie Murphy did Trading Places, it wasn't a movie. We're living a trading places. So the things that we created that other cultures are taking, because there's a trading place for it in effect. So when we talk about dancing, rapping, that doesn't take you to a high level of consciousness. It doesn't take you into that truth, justice, righteousness, peace, the five pillars of moral. I forget what they are. I know it's truth, justice, righteousness, and the other three. It doesn't take you there when you're dealing with that.
Wait, you saying music does it take you there?
The present day music. How we doing it?
Okay.
Present day music is rap. Rap is. Remember when you talk about before, right? When we was younger, we was R&B down. The rap game came in and wiped the R&B artists out. I ain't forget. The R&B artists got wiped out because people were sampling their music. I remember when the rap game first came in, everybody was sampling their music and was bringing the R&B audience over to rap. And then once they took it over, they just started creating their own lower level music. Because these are low frequency music. They don't create, They make us all hype, want to do some physical.
Yeah.
When we listen to our R&B, it put us in a different type of mood. We wanted to connect and be in that love that Brother Dale talked about.
But what about when? Go ahead.
So now, so what I'm saying now, the culture that we got away from because we've gotten away from ourselves. We got to understand what happened. Till we deal to what happened to us, we can't even get into culture because first we got to define what culture is. We got to say what culture can be. We got to define what it is. I think Narimi Amini, she knew the best. And when Brother Dan was talking earlier, when you're lost, you always pull from once upon a time, whether it be scriptures, folklore, spiritual ancient, whatever it is, you pull from once upon a time so you can get your, you can refine yourself. Right now, we're in a particular void. We're in no man's land. We're kind of lost. So we're going to have to pull elements from the past. Once we define what culture is, and then we can begin to move forward. Because we're not understanding what's really taking place. We don't understand the gender that's being taking place. We don't understand the onslaught attack that's been done to us since the 60s. We put the pieces together because they generational attack. They not in 1 year or one lifetime attack. They generational attack. And that's why we don't see them, because if I don't communicate with my father, I don't communicate with my grandfather, I won't see the generational attacks that take place.
Hey, Jose.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I want to, because I want to kind of wrap the call up. How can somebody get in contact with you if they wanted to? He incognito. So, hey, thanks for the call, Jose, because I want to shift gears on the conversation.
It's some ism.
Hey, thanks for the call. And I want to change gears in this sense. First of all, I want to send a shout out to somebody who grew up with me. I just lost somebody in our circle, Highsmith. This is a real good brother. You know, when you talk about culture, the reason why I think about it, Highsmith, we had, his name was Junaid Highsmith. He had a heart attack and passed away. You know, this was a hard blow. You know, he was off of the block I grew up on, Watkins, and we lost some brothers on Watkins. We lost Ernie Sims. We lost Charlie Wilson. We lost Dave Tate. Through the years, I'm talking about these guys got to be like 49. All of them around the same. They're a little few years older than me, you know. And this one was pretty deep because Highsmith was one of these guys who said, you know, when he saw me, I hadn't seen him in a while. And we was at alumni. He was like, you know, hey, I'm gonna go unfiltered because I wouldn't talk to Highsmith filter, you know. So he was like, Bob, cut that bullshit out. I said, well, man, what you talking? He said, cut that bullshit out. I said, man. He said, come around. Don't let all this time come before you come back around. Flat out. I said, all right. You know, that was all I could say. You know, I was all right, man. Okay, you know. But Highsmith was one of these type. When he's talking about fighting, you talking about how culture be established sometimes. On Watkins block, well, you know, my dad used to be a boxer, right? So he used to carry the gloves in there. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I thought I was tough. It's how like box Highsmith. Highsmith wasn't playing no games with them hands. He wasn't, you know, he was, you know. So, but that meant something to me in the sense that if I could even stand toe to toe with him, you know, I couldn't really stand toe to toe with him. But just to get that, what you call that work, that practice, yeah. That became a part of coaching. So when you talk about music, when Jose was just talking about music, this is to the question I'm asking, right? We're talking about what we're gonna do about culture. One of the things I want to ask the question is, how are we gonna maintain anything if everything we good at, we give it away? We let somebody else
steal and destroy it.
Right. We give it away.
Look at the stuff that gets stolen. Let's look at the stuff that's being given away. Let's take
giving
that
away.
Right there. Let's take that right there.
Let's go there. That's what I'm talking about. Because you talking about, you brought up jazz, music. We give it away. We them not the ones capitalize on it. We the ones good at it. You talking about sports, basketball. We are not. How I'm talking about. This is in our era, our day of life. We ain't talking about way back then.
Right.
I'm trying to give it away.
Giving it away.
That's the kind of question.
On a daily basis.
Why the question I asked, what y'all talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What do we do with that? Moving forward. If we gonna keep on having the same mindset to give away all our industries, how are we gonna be able to stand up talking about, you know, what difference does the Sankofa bird mean if we can't buy land, or we won't maintain, the benefits from what we are good at.
From the culture.
Right, from
Exactly.
the culture. That's
We create
what I'm
a culture,
saying.
we're not benefiting from it.
And I'm not trying to say that to sound knockish.
No, but that has to be addressed because the situation we're living in is just that. We're giving everything away. We give it away. And then here's and I know people get upset at this, but they need to get upset sometimes. If you go out and you ask 10 quote unquote black people, you know what I'm saying, African Americans, whatever you want to label them as, and you say, who country is this? And out of them 10, how many of them you think gonna say the white man?
Probably
About
9.
10, about 9.
9 out of 10.
9. They'll say this. Now, let's get this straight. Then you say, well, didn't slaves build the country? Oh, yeah. Well, didn't black people make all these inventions? Oh, yeah. Oh, well, aren't we the ones that created all the music? Oh, yeah. Well, if we did all the work, how's it his? Oh, well, I mean, and then they'll create an excuse to try to justify their response. And so what ends up happening is you just gave it away again. Now you standing on the land. That's like you in your house. And the dude coming out, he said, man, whose house is this? I said, it's my house. How you know it's my house? Because I live here, I work here, I sleep here, everything. All right. Where's your house at? My house is on the ground. Where's the ground at? The ground's on the land. Who owned the land? The white man. Wait a minute. Hold up. You live here, you work all this other stuff. How does he own something? How can a European own something in America that's already occupied by the people who live there? Mm-hmm. Unless you give it away. Land of the free, home of the brave. You brave enough to go get it.
Now, before I say mine, I want Sister Benita because her eyes got kind of wide for a second.
I can just get wide.
She be talking. Her face be talking.
Yeah, I know.
Her face be talking.
But I'm gonna come. This is what I just got to saying. It's we don't have a culture. There's no or traditions. The reason is
wait, when you say we,
I'm talking about, well, I ain't gonna say we. I'm saying the so-called Negro, colored, black, Afro-American, Negro, all those people. Okay, they don't have a culture. The reason they don't have a culture is because they don't like themselves. I in the show before, I told Bob and the other person, I said, what do we do when we get money? Exactly. We don't give it to our people. Every culture, when I say every culture, every other culture on this earth, it is a part of their job. Like if you're a Jew, 99% of Jews spend money with Jews. 95% of Irish spend money with the Irish. There's no Arabs in the Irish neighborhood.
Okay.
There's no Arabs in the Italian neighborhood. You want culture, you gotta build it. The reason you don't see, like, perfect example, you talked about music. Name me one R&B singer that you actually heard an R&B song that's black in the last 5 years.
Wait.
What's the question again?
Name me one black singer or Negro, colored, African-American singer in the last 5 years that has given you an R&B song.
Wait, what do you mean it's giving an
R&B song? A song that's slow, and when you listen to it, you feel like you're in love. Not the pop stuff that they're giving you, everybody's singing. Jennifer Hudson has a voice like a goddess, but she's singing pop. That's like Aretha Franklin singing pop. Could you imagine Aretha Franklin singing pop? That's why, can I ask you, do you know any song from Jennifer Hudson?
Nah.
Exactly. The girl got a voice like a goddess, and you don't know not one song.
Oh, what's your point?
I'm saying that they've taken all of the culture away. So if I take your culture from you, and I take your money in your neighborhoods from you, and you hate yourself, you never spend money on you and yours. Okay. Culturally, you're dead. Like you told me, the young man who just passed, he helped you see yourself because he gave you a person to box with. He showed you a direction. These people nowadays show no direction.
Let me go ahead.
Because they have the power. Now, I think LeBron James is one of the best human beings on this earth. People get mad at me when I tell you he's the 15th best player of all time. But as a human being,
You like one of the best.
he's the only man that I would consider to talk to. Because
In the world?
no, I'm talking about as far as sports. I'm talking about
More so than
as
Dr. J?
even Dr. J. I'm talking about a man.
Who actually do.
He went culturally, told his African people, I may be gone, but I'm gonna get you through high school. I'm gonna get you through college. And guess when you get through college, what's gonna happen? You're gonna come and work for me. That's culture. That's building.
What's funny with that conversation. Like
Wait.
Okay.
Go ahead.
R&B music, Anderson .Paak. Thank you, my
Yeah.
brother. Prime. May put that in there.
Who?
Anderson .Paak.
Who's that?
Anderson
He's
.Paak.
a R&B.
What they're saying is you need to expand what you listen to. That's all they're saying. You need to broaden.
In one song,
Yeah.
out of 100
Yeah.
million.
You riding around.
Y'all had to look it up, bro.
You riding around with these instrumentals on all day. Don't know none of the artists.
Anderson .Paak is an artist. He makes lots of music. He's got several albums out. Thank
Why
you
reading it? Why you have to look it up?
He's reading a feed. It's a feed.
I know.
I was gonna say R. Kelly because you brought R. Kelly. You know what I'm saying? So many times.
Oh my
He's
God.
been in jail.
It ain't no difference, but
I
the man-
said 5 years.
But the man right here, he posts music with that 5 years.
Well, here's like one of the conversations I picked up through the years, right? I was talking to my wife and we was talking about how her upbringing was and how sometimes when she talked, they, growing up in Michigan, they school system is kind of broken up, like, right? So, I noticed that we from a school system that go K through 8, which is very significant, which is really important when you're talking about the concept of culture. The story I'm telling about Highsmith, I got 100 of them. If you keep letting me sit here long enough, it's a bunch of different angles that came from the way we grew up, K through 8. K through 8, what it does in a neighborhood, it sets up generations of, that's why that's a few generations over us. That's like the 49-year, 50-year-old range. But it's generations over that because all of us, what our common denominator is Esmond Elementary School. We went to Esmond, right? We went to Esmond, K through 8. And when you say that, boom, everybody just almost, join in unison if they from Esmond. It's like this pride of connection. And Esmond had us connected like a family, right? And I noticed listening to other people from different states and stuff like that, a lot of them don't have those K through 8s. So you got a K through 8, and then you got high school, right? And the next thing you know, then some of them may go off to college together. So you go look, you've been knowing somebody since kindergarten. Like I got friends on Facebook. It would be amazing. It sounds amazing when you say it, like my 40-year friend. But how many, depending on where you was raised at in the United States, you can't say that.
Yeah.
But a lot of us from Esmond who went through K through 8 can say that effortlessly. So we got million stories, and so is Ada Park the same way. So you put Blackwelder Park where we grew up around, and then Ada Park is sort of the same way because they had Shoup Elementary School, and which I believe Shoup is a K through 8 too, right?
Yes.
A lot of them schools are K through 8s over there, and that matters. That matters when you're talking about how culture identified. But another thing that we end up doing, we end up trying to condition what good brother look like. You could easily say Highsmith Highsmith was a gangster, but that's a good thing. When I say it, Highsmith was a gangster, bro. Like, man, it's like he's a real G. Like, that's a good thing. Slang, whether you understand the slang or not. But somebody on the outside of that culture look in. Yeah, somebody on the outside look at that like, yeah, but you point out all the stuff that's wrong. That ain't how we saw these gangsters. That ain't how I saw them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about the ones who killed. I ain't talking about killing is bad in the midst of our circle. If it felt some kind of way, somebody in our hood got killed by somebody who was like, dang, man, that was like, man, that's a black eye. That's a black eye to us, right? But when I think about the protection, the guidance, the wisdom that came from walking through that, man, you can't tell me.
Because it was a culture.
Because it was
like, look, these dudes they not out here thugging for fashion. He's like, man, I got to go to the store for my grandmother. You see them 20 dudes right there? I got to walk past all 20 of them. You know what I'm saying? And I got to get back with these groceries.
You can't change that.
Man,
You can't change that culture, right?
exactly. So
This is to my
you got to
question.
survive.
No, that ain't what I'm saying.
Mhm.
What do we do with it? Based off what y'all was saying, what do we do? Because this is real culture. I'm talking about I exist.
You walk past and say, hey, how you doing?
No, what I'm saying, what do we do with that? Our culture was developed almost really literally uninterrupted, liberated. We could really literally do what we need to do. That's what I'm saying. Because we got a bond. We got people we can run to. And Dale, how often do we really see each other? We don't see each other, but because we all from that same culture, it's like a bond instantly. Boom. Boom. It's boom. What do we do with it? That's my question that I'm asking. What do we do? Do we keep on saying, we keep bringing up?
So this is a resource, and what I'm hearing you say is we're not tapping into it.
Right.
We're not utilizing it. So
'Cause it's
how
there.
can we? is the
That's a
question
power
you're asking.
structure.
Yeah, because it's there. That's the thing. It's the actual thing. And so the other part, how old are you when you get out of 8th grade? Around how old? 14, 13, something like that. So interestingly enough,
I was 16. Anyway, go ahead.
when they giving the people that a hormone block appeal.
Yeah.
Give you that pill right in between that
The pause. Just the pause.
just within that K through 8. Now the other part that people got to realize is we as a culture of people. Because I don't say people of color, because people of color are cartoon characters to me. Red, blue, yellow, green, all that kind of stuff. But as a people of culture, we have to recognize the fact that we, in the 1700s, right around the time of George Washington and all these other characters, we was graduating from college at 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. We graduated from college at that age. So now they're saying that there's some type of developmental process that's going on inside your body and your body within this K through 8 phase that it can get out of control. So we got to figure out some way to put something inside of you to slow this down, because y'all getting too smart too fast. Here's even to the degree what something I want to say about what Yosef said about rap music, and Benita had said something about conscious rap, because you got to realize the book of songs is a book of raps. They songs, but they rap. The Quran is a book of raps. This is a dude. He had learned these raps. You got children, 8, 9 years old, know all Tupac lyrics. Can they read that side? Probably not. But you start that music up and they know every single lyric. You start in the middle of the song, he can pick it up. You start the rhyme off, he can finish it off. And so that's the ability to understand how to recite. That's why one thing you're saying about how do we utilize this
And like Maine said, how do we protect the culture?
That's the perfect example
The
that
one
brother
thing-
Jose was talking about that you just said. The rap. When it started out, we had conscious rap up and down. My favorite.
we still got it.
I'm talking about mainstream. It was the conscious rap. Like my favorite group was
You need to get out a little more. I see.
look. What y'all call conscious, I call scratching the surface. Because I'm talking about in mainstream on the radio
Now that's in a way. Now we're talking about two different things.
No.
You're
But
talking about
what you,
it being out there and it being exposed to you.
but
That's
see,
two different things.
that's it. That's what,
It's out there.
what I'm
They don't
saying.
want you to get it though.
No, I understand what I'm saying. What's being put out there is mumble rap. I'm gonna teach you how not to speak.
But of course they're gonna. That's part of the deal.
Wait, but you know, here's the thing though. The thing is, these cats ain't gonna be doctors and lawyers. So it's like,
Wait.
No,
Your son wouldn't be a lawyer.
no, I'm not saying my son. I'm
But
saying the
that's
ones
what-
who used to call mumble rappers.
No, I'm talking about who is getting the rap, not the mumble rappers.
Right.
I'm talking about who's listening to it on the radio.
No, hold on, wait a second. Even mumble rappers have the capacity
To do what?
be all that other type of rapping that you are saying that they should do. It is those producers, the owners who will not allow them. Like they will come in with this much good stuff, right? This much positive stuff. And then they will be like, they'll play this one little tiny thing that they have that's garbage. And then they say, we need you to make some more of this.
Right.
Because they want our people to look
Mhm.
But
bad.
that's what I'm talking
But
about.
Almost
But that's
each
different
and
though.
every
That's
one
not
of
what's
them,
being. That's not the culture.
like
That's the exploitation.
just like you said, say it again. It's not what you heard, it's what you've been exposed to. But say it
Yeah,
again.
because that's the whole thing is because it's not what's out there. but it's what they let them get to.
Exactly.
So
Look.
but we can't judge our situation on wrong.
That's right. You go to the store and then there's
I'm
there's
I remember when we grew up.
lettuce
Sorry.
and celery and Primeane said J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar. It's out there.
It's out there.
Yeah, I heard both of them.
It's out there.
And neither one of them can hold water to anybody that I'm thinking of in my head. As far as as intelligent rappers, I like about the same beat on everybody record.
See,
Okay, what up, dog?
See, I just trying to figure out, like when I think about, okay, we was talking, I know Facing Willie Turner. He was from Racine Court. I think he chimed in.
Yeah.
But so when I think of Ada Park, Racine Court, I didn't literally technically grow up over there.
No, we did.
But like, you know what I'm saying? But I used to have to like sneak over to the hoagie shop, you know what I'm saying? Because, the ones who cocked their hat to the right was over there. But now I go over there liberally. Because that feel like home too.
Mm-hmm.
When I navigate through Ada Park, that feel like home, even though we was quote unquote from across the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you look at it from that perspective, the broad range of who we are, that's my hood. Like when you say where you grew up at, and I grew up on 119th Vincent, right? I'm on Blackwell beside the park. But when you say Ada Park, you're gonna make me look.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at you because you family to me. Yeah. You really family to me, even though we did some boneheaded stuff when we was young, right? But you family to me, flat out. So I'm saying, what do we do with that? We gotta.
We may have to have a part two to this
absolutely.
because
I
we
would.
at that moment.
We at that wrap up moment.
Yeah, because the whole it all come down to what I call the trinity of. It's gonna come down to faith, patience, and unity with a lot of this. I mean, faith, patience, and maturity. Because see, in our community, that's one thing that's attacked at all times. Faith, patience, and maturity. What I mean, but I don't mean faith is a religion. I mean faith is in confidence. You know what I'm saying? Confidence in ourselves, confidence in each other, confidence in the choices that we make. Confidence with attack. That's why they put these ignorant police out here, got ignorant doctors, ignorant judges. You know what I'm saying? They come up here and they all up in your face, this, that, and the third, to get you out of your body. Wine to represent blood because wine must be matured for you to drink it. You know what I'm saying? It's all about maturity. See, maturity factor is so important in how we develop because it's what allows us to understand what freedom really is.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we just ain't got no responsibilities. But that don't mean you free. You just ain't got no responsibility. Man, I ain't got to watch the baby. I ain't got to do this. I'm free. No, because you still got responsibilities. And once we learn how to handle our responsibilities appropriately, then we understand the truth of what freedom actually can do for us.
Kawana Hassan said, Kendrick Lamar is deep. I like him. I know that.
Wait. I gotta say this since she said that. We have a foundation. It's a sickle cell foundation. It's called Terrell Holmes Sickle Cell Foundation. We have an event April 13th in Maywood on 5th and Madison, T and JJ's. Basically, it gives money to the parents of kids who have sickle cell, pay their rent and things of that nature. So if you want to come on out, April 13th, we'll be at T and JJ's in Maywood.
That's what's up.
Oh yeah, I want to plug Blue Lady Wellness. We have a mental health spa on the south side of Chicago, 1805 West 95th Street, and I definitely encourage people to go out and see the sister Nadia who runs the place, and definitely it's an experience.
Is that it? And this response is so elegant. Though you said, well, look, I mean, I'm a chef. So if I'm a chef, you said if I'm a chef and if I get done cooking you a good from the Wild Hundreds who knew my man Junaid Hospital. I love y'all. I know everybody felt the impact of that. You know, that was a good brother to us, man. That was a good brother. We love Hasmith, and Hasmith meant a lot of stuff to a lot of different people. And we felt that. We really felt that death. I think his funeral gonna be next week. I think on the 11th or 12th, next week sometime. I can't remember right off the top, but I know y'all will get the information. But to that family and to all my people from out there, we love you. I love you. And just know that even though we don't see each other all the time, I love you.
Sharing this broadcast, downloading it, we appreciate you.
Oh yeah, how we download how we download the broadcast?
You can go to Spreaker, you can go to iTunes, iHeart, Spotify. You can download it there. You can also download it off of YouTube or check it out on Facebook.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
But
We're here, Shy Rise
You might
Radio
think,
on
man.
IntellectualRadio.com.
Anytime, thanks for tuning in. Y'all
Next week we talking about relationships, right, Bob?